Hello folks, and welcome back to another one of our motorhome videos. For those of you who don't know us, we're Steve and Margot, a retired couple, and we've sold up everything and we now live and travel full-time in our 20-year-old motorhome. And we're off to Europe in a few weeks' time for 6 months. We like to stay off grid as much as possible for as long as possible. So what we've decided to do is fully upgrade our electric system in order that we can stay even longer. So in this video I'm completely revamping my electrical system, which is underneath this seating area here. So let's crack on, shall we? It's a case of taking the cushions off, which isn't a major job. And there we are. So this is my system. I've got 3 110 amp hour AGM batteries, and they're charged up by the solar on the roof, which is 480 watts of solar. They come down to a Victron MPPT controller. I can also charge them via the Victron B2B, and if necessary, when I want to hook up, a Victron mains charger. Now at the moment I've also got this 1500 pure sine wave inverter. I will be changing that over to a 3000 watt Renogy inverter, but the problem is over in this area here, these batteries are coming out, but the new batteries are about another inch wider, so I'm going to have to move over all this equipment. I'm taking out the old inverter, and the new one is double the size of this, so I'm maybe going to fit it in this way. There's one big battery here, inverter here, and what I've decided to go for is a Roma battery. It's the 460 Smart 3. They're not in the country yet. It's a flagship 3rd generation LiFePO4 battery, but I should be travelling up to Leeds to their offices and picking it up direct from them. One other thing that I want to add is I have not been given this battery by Roma to promote. I bought it with my own money. I've done my own research. I've looked into the components they use, the quality, the research they've put into it, and well, in my general opinion, it's the best for me and the best quality, and it's worth spending the money on something like this because we're living in the motorhome and it's got to be 100% reliable. But I just thought I'd mention that. So the first things first, start disconnecting some of the wiring. Of course I've shut off the main breaker, which kills all the power to all the wiring, and I've taken out the positive feed to the inverter and its fuse and disconnected the negative, which enabled me to slide out the old inverter and then just disconnect the negative side off the shunt. And these two breakers that protect the B2B had enough slack on the wire to allow me just to loosen them and sort of gently tease them into place further away from where I wanted to cut out. This enabled me to cut the wood back and gain them extra couple of inches I needed for the new battery. So after a quick clean up, it was out with the track saw and do a couple of rips of timber to cover that cut edge and give me a clean edge for the battery to batt up against. I'm using some offcuts of 9mm laminate faced plywood that I've got knocking about. I'm just pre-drilling, countersinking and screwing together these two bits of timber to form a kind of angle piece that will cover that cut edge. And that's the woodwork part of this job done now. So everything's tidied up a bit now. I've made a template of the battery size. It's quite a hefty size, and it's going to fit in this area here now that I've altered down below there for the extra width. What I can do, I can put my feed and fuse for the inverter I can still keep it in this area, but the inverter itself is a big old lump, so I'll have to move the consumer unit and changeover switch down below here when these batteries are gone. That'll give me a bit more area. Probably turn this shunt round this way, and then I've effectively got all that area there for the new inverter. Like I say, it's quite a lump. One thing I forgot to mention is that we're pretty much committed now to going all electric, especially as last week I took out the gas oven and hob, and also took out all of the gas that's supplying the van. We're just cooking on the induction hob now, just one ring, but we found that works perfectly fine for us. We're also using an air fryer to replace the gas oven, and again that seems to work really well for us. A few weeks ago I replaced the old three-way fridge for a new 12-volt compressor fridge, and that seems to be working well. But if this all-electric venture of ours doesn't work out, we're pretty much up to Swanee really. But tomorrow we're off to fetch the new 460Ah LiFePO4 battery and get it fitted in. So after a 6-hour trip to Leeds, we had our battery personally delivered by the founder of Roma Batteries, Steve Kennedy. And Steve was kind enough to sit down with me and run through some of the features of my new Roma battery. What makes the Smart 3 different to the previous generation?
The biggest one is we've added a standalone active balancing module. Right. Now, what that does is it takes the cells. So inside your battery, there's 8 large 230 amp hour cells. Yep. In series and parallel. Now, each of those cells as a store of energy will have a certain voltage, and as you fill it up to 100%, the voltage suddenly starts to go up quite quickly. Yep. So if those cells are perfectly in balance, you'll see all of the cells moving up together. Yep. But if there's any kind of imbalance, perhaps been charged incorrectly, it's been stored for a while or whatever reason, then you'll see one of the cells go off at a slightly higher rate. So the active balancer just helps to bring it in, and the same as a passive balancer, which is what you'll see on other brands. Right. The difference with active balancing is that it's way more powerful. Mm-hmm. For a start, it can balance at 2 amps instead of about 20 milliamps. That's what most others do, and it also takes energy from one cell and passes it onto a separate cell. Keeps it in line rather than just burning a little bit off as a resistor with heat, which is a very easy and cheap way to do it. But the active balancing is it costs a lot more money, but it works a lot better. Now, most people will never see the difference, and when you first get your brand new battery and it's fully balanced, you wouldn't really notice. We're looking at this more down the line of 6-7 years as the cells get older. And after a good chat, this battery certainly seems the one for me. Get it, like I say, test it, run it, do everything you can, put as big loads on it as you can. I really look forward to it. It's been great meeting you, Steve. Right, enjoy. All the best. Well, thanks very much. Enjoy your adventures. Thank you. Bye. So this is where I am so far. The new battery is in position. It's clamped down and fixed in position. What I've done, I've temporarily run some 35mm cables in order to get the 12-volt side up and running. The little 12-volt fuse box is in position, new buzz bars, the Renogy inverter is in position. But in order that the Renogy and the battery can work as efficiently as possible, I'm going to need some much more heavier duty cables, so I'll get started on them. The cable that I'm going to use on the battery and the inverter circuit is this stuff. It's 95 square mil. It's like a silicon coated cable. It's very flexible. On each end I'm going to be putting these big heavy duty lugs,
To get this sort of cable made up, I found it costs a fortune. So what I've done, I bought the cable separately, I bought the lug separately, but you're going to need certain tools to make life easier. I've got these big heavy industrial 16.5 ton crimps. They will crimp these lugs and give you a good electrical connection. For cutting the cable, I've got these. They close up on a ratchet and will slice through the cable nice and cleanly. And finally, for the heat shrink that goes on over the metal parts, I've just got a simple heat gun. This is a cheapie from Amazon, about £10, but it does the trick far better than using a hairdryer. So now I want to make up all the cables, offer up the lug and mark the cable exactly where you want to cut it. Then I simply score through the outer sheathing and bend it a little bit and pop it off. Just double check to make sure you've got all the cable in the lug, and then with the crimpers position the lug in the right orientation and make sure both ends and both lugs are correct and how you want to fit them, and then push the cable fully home so you can see it in a little inspection window here. Cramp him up and the lug will cramp right around the cable. I do it twice on this big cable to give a good mechanical join, and that's the end result. Finish off by cutting yourself a bit of heat shrink and make sure it's completely over the metal parts, and then just shrink him on. And that's the finished job. Just got to do all the cables now and they'll be ready to fit. So those main 95mm cables are in and fitted now, and that's the positive and negative side of the battery. From the positive it runs to a kill switch and then down to this buzz bar. It carries on through the mega fuse and across to the inverter, the positive side. The two negatives here are one from the battery itself and the other one from the inverter. They go to the shunt, where I can check what's going on with the system via the Victron battery monitor and the app. And finally, I've just run the data cable to the Renogy remote switch, which will allow me to turn things on and off quite easily. So that's the installation part of the job done. Now I can't really give this a good test until we're out on the road and in real life situations, but what I can do is get an idea of what particular appliances take what load and what I can run together and how it affects the battery, and I can do that and I can check using the Roma app. So Roma have got their own app, and what you do once you've opened it, it scans for the battery and you press on your battery and it opens the front page, and here you've got the main statistics. There's 33% left in the battery itself, and just below that 155 amp hours remaining. It's showing that I am allowing charging and I'm allowing a discharge. There are four other things here: current voltage of the battery, the temperature of the battery, it's had 2 cycles, and it's showing you the current being used in real time. That's just the background usage, lights, fridge, etc. If I was to fire up this hob, for example, induction hob, and we'll put it on power level 4, you'll see the current change. So that induction hob is pulling 125 amps out of the battery. If I wanted to see a bit more, I can press on these 3 and you've got various other parameters and you can delve a bit deeper, but the main one is details. Now it's showing you in real time how many watts are being consumed, if you prefer to work in watts, 1590, so that's 1.5, 1.6 kilowatts, 125 amps, and it's giving you more data all the way along. Especially here, if we go back to the cell balancing that Steve was explaining to us, it shows you each individual cell and their voltage, and they're all fluctuating a little bit, but they're being balanced exactly. Now the Roma battery has got a lot of protection on it, and you can find out more about it by pressing this protect state. This is kind of a safety page. It shows you we're allowing charge, same as we're allowing discharge, but it's also got charging alarms and discharge alarms. So should you do something untoward and the battery realizes it could potentially damage it, it'll protect it and it'll highlight these various sections, letting you know exactly what's gone on. And now if we go back, I switched off the hob and the current being consumed is only 5 amps. Now I won't bore you because this is a bit geeky, but I've done a whole list of power that all the various things use, and I've used them in combinations, and I've got it to the point where it's overloading that 3000 watt inverter. But at least now I know what I can use generally. So that just about concludes this video. There's not a lot more I can do now until we're away and I can really test out the battery and everything and the equipment. I'll do a follow-up video in a couple of months' time to let you know how it's getting on and if it's working well and what I could do as extras. So look out for that one. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you very much. Please subscribe if you haven't. And for now folks, stay safe, take care, and we'll catch you on another one of our Wrinkly Nomads motorhome videos. Bye for now.